The roar of the river and the screams of the Tatar army seemed to freeze time itself. It was that very moment when stains of blood and folly were about to be etched forever onto the pages of history. Sultan Jalaluddin, with a wounded heart and helpless eyes, looked back at all that had been lost and ahead at the perilous path that awaited him. Every passing second, every crashing wave brought him closer to death. Yet there he stood at the edge, an embodiment of resolve and courage, still striving for survival alongside his companions. The river claimed many lives, but the few brave souls who survived became the first to step into the dark wilderness with their sultan. Even Genghis Khan, despite his pride as a conqueror, watched in astonishment how one man could emerge from the jaws of death with unbroken determination. A few Tatar commanders, eager to risk their lives, appeared before Genghis Khan and sought permission to cross the river to pursue Sultan Jalaluddin. But the terrifying, raging waves of the Indus exposed the foolishness of their desire. Genghis Khan turned their request into mockery. "You are not men of such caliber, and do not forget, he could strike you down with arrows from the other side while you drown in the middle of the river." Demonstrating remarkable wisdom and strategy, Sultan Jalaluddin ordered a large portion of the royal treasury to be thrown into the river so that it would not fall into enemy hands. However, Genghis Khan immediately summoned divers and managed to recover part of the treasure from the depths. Some of the remaining companions leapt into the river, risking their lives to follow their sultan. Tatar archers relentlessly targeted them. Many fell to arrows, while others were swallowed by the violent waves. That stretch of the river, within the range of enemy arrows, turned red with blood. Amidst this horrifying chaos, some women of the sultan's household and innocent infants who could not jump into the river fell into the hands of the enemy. Genghis Khan ordered them to be brought before him and mercilessly had them executed. On the other side of the river, Sultan Jalaluddin watched these scenes of brutality with a shattered heart, powerless to intervene. As dusk fell, 7 warriors managed to reach the far bank alive and reunited with their sultan. The feeling of survival, of returning from the brink of death, made it seem as though they had stepped back onto the shores of life itself. The sun had set, and darkness spread across the land. Sultan Jalaluddin gathered these 7 companions and moved toward the silent, desolate forest. On the western bank of the river, Genghis Khan stood watching in awe, gazing at a man of iron who continued to emerge victorious through every trial of fate and time.
The horse upon which Sultan Jalaluddin crossed the Indus River was not merely an animal, it became a loyal companion. This brave creature remained by the Sultan's side from the Battle of the Indus all the way to the conquest of Tiflis 5 years later. Out of deep respect and honor, it was no longer ridden like an ordinary mount. Instead, it was cared for with special reverence at all times. Although the historic battle on the banks of the Indus resulted in a practical defeat for the Muslims, their sacrifice and courage were never in vain. The Tartars had unleashed their full might upon them, yet despite being fewer in number, the Mujahideen fought with such intensity for 3 days that few examples of such resistance exist in history. The number of Muslims who were martyred was significant, but the losses suffered by the Tartars were many times greater. Historians such as Ibn al-Athir write, "The number of the slain and wounded among the disbelievers was far greater than that of the Muslims. Although the battlefield ultimately remained in the hands of the Tartars, the severity of their losses halted their military advance." Genghis Khan was unable to push further beyond the regions of Sindh and Punjab. His storm-like advance, which had crushed mighty provinces, came to a halt along the banks of the Indus for a considerable time. Soon after, troubled by various difficulties and internal issues, he returned to Karakoram. Had it not been for the sacrifices of thousands of martyrs on the banks of the Indus, the land of Hind, then divided among multiple kingdoms, might have become an easy prey for Genghis Khan. Sultan Jalaluddin dealt devastating blows to the Tartars on this front. Otherwise, within months, the conquest of Delhi, Baghdad, and Damascus would not have been unlikely. The great historian Hafiz al-Dahabi stated, "Had Sultan Jalaluddin not existed, the Tartars would have trampled the entire world." Nilab, a small village situated along the Indus River, is still recognized today for its bluish waters. In ancient times, its shores bore witness to the great sacrifices of Sultan Jalaluddin. The clear blue waves were referred to as Nil-Ab in the old language, which likely gave the village its name. The road from Attock to Pindi-Geb leads to Nilab and continues toward Goda Uttarap. It was from this very location that Sultan Jalaluddin made his historic leap into the Indus. The rock known as Jalaliya or Chong Jalaliya still stands as a witness of time. Historical texts also mention it, where the bravery of that legendary leap still feels alive. Across the Indus, near the road from Hyderabad stop to Nizampura, the river changes direction, first south, then west, then south again. Between the mountains and the river lies a narrow yet open field where the historic battle between Sultan Jalaluddin and Genghis Khan took place. This was the position of the left wing of Jalaluddin's army, and it is possible that the present-day mountain Jalalasar is part of that legacy. A few kilometers ahead, the river narrows at another bend. This is where the Sultan leapt into the Indus with his loyal horse. Even today, this place is remembered as Goda Tarap or Goda Tip, offering a timeless scene of courage, sacrifice, and human determination. A chapter of history has now come to an end. Season 1 has reached its conclusion. The leap into the Indus, the cruelty of the enemy, and the unmatched sacrifices of the warriors have completed a story that will always be remembered. But a new storm, a new struggle, now stands ready to begin. Sultan Jalaluddin, with a wounded spirit yet unbreakable resolve, was about to emerge from the scenic forests and step once again onto the land of Hind. A new beginning, a new challenge, and a new chapter. And this is the moment where Season 2 begins. A new saga of war, bravery, and sacrifice is about to unfold.